What up, team? Good to see everyone. We got Mike in the building. What up? What up? Adam, Felix, what's good, brother? Hope you guys are doing well. Tyler Lee Media, let's go. Crew's in the building today. Hope you guys are having an awesome week so far. If you guys can hear me okay, drop a little one in the chat for me. A little one in the chat if you guys can hear me okay. Hope you guys are having an excellent week so far. Welcome to the little agency therapy. If this is your first time, welcome. Glad to have you here. Hope you guys are absolutely killing your week. We got an awesome training for you guys today. And yeah, I'm just stoked to be here. We've been shooting content literally all freaking day today. It's been great. But I'm specifically excited for agency therapy today because I've been getting hit with this question a decent amount of Josh. I need to pull myself out of fulfillment. I'm a founder. I'm starting to get some traction. We're starting to sign more clients, and I need to get myself out of the day-to-day fulfillment of my agency. And I'm having a really hard time doing so. I'm having a hard time delegating tasks. And so I want to take you guys through a little mental framework today on that. And what kind of content? All types of content, Felix. We did everything today. We short form content. We should add content. We did what else did we do? We didn't do any long form content outside of this. This is our only long form content today. Wrote Twitter content. It was great. So written, short form, ad content. It was great. 10 out of 10. Shout out to my boy, Tyler Armstrong, Mr. Lee Media. Absolutely crushed it today. So, but wanted to take you guys through a mental framework today or a framework on pulling yourself out of fulfillment. Of course, I'll share my Miro board here in just a second. So, want to take you guys through that too with you today. If that sounds like a game plan, let's go ahead and just jump into it then. Okay. Would love to hear your approach on content creation. Yeah, for sure. We can chat a little bit about that at the end of the stream. Let's go through the prepared material and then we'll go a little off the riff content creation. What we do on our side to kind of prep for everything. And yeah, we'll go from there. Let me do a little share screen here. That way you guys can kind of see what I'm looking at. Whoop. But bam. I'm going to turn off the chat overlay for the time being. And let's hop into it. So, little framework. If you guys don't have this agency therapy stream board, guys, there's so many trainings inside here. I say this every single week, but I'm going to keep saying it because there's so many trainings. Like if you're looking on how to generate leads through LinkedIn, awesome. There's a full training here specifically on that. If you're more in the starting stages of your agency, okay, we talk about niching down and market leader positioning. There's a full training on things like that. And so a lot of trainings here, all free for you guys. This is like a MBA on building and growing an agency. And I will get you guys the link to this and I'll drop it in chat and you guys can have access to it. Boom. There you go. And you can also follow along if you want to on the stream. Okay. All right. So let's hop in today. How are we pulling ourselves out of fulfillment? You're starting to get some traction inside of your business. Okay. Well, that probably means that we need you out of the day to day, right? We need to move you into a visionary role. And the way that we do this is through our first transition. So, in the first transition is like understanding the signs like, hey, when do I actually need to be pulled out of the day to day? When is the right time to exit a lot of the day to day of the business? Like, what are the signs of me actually having to transition out of the day to day of my agency? And a lot of times there's going to be a feeling of you guys feeling, potentially overworked. You don't have time to focus on like the really important things like strategy, for example, right? If you're not able to focus on strategy, a lot of times it's hard to have more focus on some of the growth activities of the business. Okay. Now, a couple things that might happen here is like, hey, some of the daily tasks, they're going to start to feel extremely repetitive. They're going to consume a lot of your time. And we're not going to have time to focus on growth activities, which usually is going to lead to our business is going to plateau, even if you're working harder than ever. And that's where the true sign of this comes in of like, hey, we're going to start to plateau even though it feels like we're working harder than we've ever worked before on our business. Okay. Now, not sure where your time is going necessarily. Well, that happens, right? We get kind of put into the day to day. We start to drown just a little bit inside of the day to day. We're not sure where the time is actually going. And so, if you guys are looking for a good way to get out of this, I would definitely consider conducting a time audit. Literally, just get like a line sheet of paper and every half hour, write down what you do on a daily basis for an entire week. Okay, see where your time is going, see what is taking you out of the day to day or some of the strategy work that you need to be doing for the business, and what is keeping you in the day to day. Okay, so go in and specifically track on that. Okay, give me a little thumbs up in the chat if you guys are feeling good on that. Okay. Now, highlight the tasks that don't need your input as a founder. Okay, so this is going to be like day-to-day tasks, like maybe like client work, right? Maybe this is going to be things like onboarding clients. Maybe we're talking about, doing some of the day-to-day fulfillment for those clients. Things like, if you're running like content creation, for example, some of the ideation around the content. Maybe you're doing the pre-production still. Maybe you're doing the production or the post-production, right? What are things that we can bring people in order to pull you out of that day to day, right? So highlight those tasks that don't necessarily need your input, or you feel like that it shouldn't need your input as a founder. Okay, and then from there, it helps us split it into two things. We can either delegate it or we can automate it. Okay, delegate or automate, and those are the two buckets that we can separate these things into. First thing being, hey, if we're going to delegate, well, we need to start creating SOPs around the work that can't be automated. Okay. So if we're noticing that there's tasks here that don't necessarily need our input as a founder, and we want to delegate it to a team, or we want to bring on a teammate in order to do that, okay, well, we need to start creating some SOPs around that. Now, what kind of moves us into this delegation route? Well, it's usually going to be tasks that you don't really enjoy doing. Okay. So if you don't enjoy doing something, or you're not necessarily good at doing something, well, that's something that we should probably delegate to a teammate. Bring in someone that is either going to be better than you at it, or actually enjoys doing it on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so we're going to start delegating some of those pieces. But in order to delegate to a teammate, well, we have to have some standard operating procedures in place. And we've done an entire training on setting up SOPs for the business, which reminds me, at some point we need to do a little refresher on SOPs, because we have some new, really cool models that we're utilizing to create SOPs. But if we're going to delegate it, we need SOPs around it. And then if we're going to automate it, so say this doesn't actually take a person, like a lot of your onboarding steps can actually be automated. And we've talked about this before as well, but map out those exact steps that you need in order to automate that task effectively. Whether you're utilizing something like Zapier or your project management software, okay, we can't automate a lot of these pieces. So one or the other. We're either going to delegate it or we're going to automate it. We're going to try to automate it first. If we can't automate it, then we're going to delegate it to the team, because it's always cheaper to automate things than it is to actually delegate them. Okay. Because this takes people. This just takes a little bit of software. It'll cost you a little bit of money, but it's not going to cost you too much money. Okay. Making sense so far? Nicholas Reed in the building. Oh, freaking Rob Perry here. Trash. Trash. What up, dude? Good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so delegate and automate. From there, we hit our transition two. So transition one is really about understanding. Okay, understanding the day to day, understanding what is taking most of your time as a founder or a CEO, right? And then being able to either delegate or automate. So that's our transition one. Okay, our transition two is the day to day is delegated. Now, how do we ensure that the company doesn't just run, but actually thrives in your reduced day-to-day role? Okay. So how do we make sure we continue to thrive? Okay. Now, really comes down to just empowering the team. Okay. But there's certain ways that we can actually empower the team to do this. Okay. The first one being training. Okay. Really simple here, guys. The biggest misconception that we see specifically with training is when you move out of fulfillment, or when you move out of some of those day-to-day tasks, is that your team will just immediately be able to handle the new workload. They'll be able to handle the new tasks, and they're good to go, right? We delegate and we're like, yeah, we delegated effectively. This team is good to go. We're rocking. Wrong. Okay. We have to continually train the team. Just because we've trained them once or we gave them an SOP on this does not mean that they are prepared and ready to do this long term. Okay. So we need to have continued training. We have to invest in training on a continued basis, right? If you're, running paid ads, for example, and you're delegating to a new media buyer, well, chances are they're not going to run it at the same capacity as you. You've been doing it probably for a long time. So they need continued training, because they're not going to learn the same skills. They're not going to learn all the nuances of running a campaign like you could. So you need to invest into training, either get them training or host continued trainings for them to help them understand mentally how to take on this new workload and all the nuances that come with the position, because as you guys know, one campaign is never the same. We have to be able to pivot, adjust, right? And we need to be able to teach our team how to think about running that part of the business, right? And here's the thing is like, we don't want to think for our team. We want to teach our team how to think, right? And when we can teach our team how to think, they're going to become more effective, more efficient into that position. And then they're also going to be able to take leadership at a certain point and be able to train and show other people on the team how to do it. And that's when you know that you've delegated appropriately, is when that person either becomes better than you or they can train the team as effectively as you could. Okay. Classic Padawan uh, and Jedi Master, right? Now, second thing here is going to be culture. And this is what we really have to break it down to. Okay. Culture. So we have to foster an environment where team members actually feel responsible for the outcomes of the business. Okay. And you guys, if there's no accountability, if there's no responsibility for that team member, they're just going to run the day to day, very loosely. Right. And so there has to be KPIs. We have to set KPIs for the team in order for them to hit. We have to give them that carrot to strive for. Without these, well, we're just running the day to day aimlessly. So give them outcomes, give them KPIs to actually hit. If the KPIs or outcomes do not exist, it's going to be very hard to keep your team accountable and have a culture of high performance that is going to be empowering to the team without this. Okay. And it's going to be very hard to uphold the standard that you once had for the specific tasks that you're passing off. Okay. Other thing we need to do, use open communication. Okay. Make the team aware of the vision, how they fit in it. You're going to need buy-in from the team if you're going to delegate. And they have to feel as if what you're delegating is, one, actually important to the team, and that it's actually going to build towards the vision that you set for the business. That's how you get buy-in. Because if they feel as if their tasks or what you're delegating doesn't matter and it doesn't contribute to the higher vision of the business, they're not going to care about it. Okay. So you need to get them bought in, and why it's important that they take on this task, and why it's important to hit KPIs in the outcomes that you set for them. Is that making sense so far? Let's take a little stop here. Nick Lauer in the building. Nick Lauer asked, let's go. I love it. I'm just gonna leave this Nicholas Reed trash can emoji because I know that's for Rob. Uh, uh, Felix, where on the board is this? It's gonna be in the lower right. So if you kind of follow, it should be I believe 20, if I'm not mistaken. Any questions on this so far? Is this, you guys vibing with this? Drop a little 3 in the chat. You guys are vibing with this so far. All right. That leads us to number 3, okay, is feedback. Okay, so it kind of goes in line with culture a little bit, but feedback. We have to have a culture of feedback. Okay, so initiate some regular check-ins with the team. Okay, whenever you're bringing on a new teammate, a really good way to do this is, probably for the first week, like probably do check-ins daily with them. Make sure that they have what they need, not in a micromanagement standpoint, but more like, hey, do you have the resources you need? How are you feeling? Do you have questions specifically on this? And then from there, being able to go on a weekly basis, and then maybe on a bi-weekly basis, then on a monthly basis, right? But we should have regular check-ins with the team in order to be able to delegate appropriately and make sure that they have what they need to actually win inside of whatever new task, whatever new departments you're delegating out to the team, right? Now, when the team does get wins, let's actually celebrate those wins. Okay? We just don't do this enough. Okay? We don't celebrate wins enough with the team, especially when they've taken on a big task or they've taken on a big chunk of fulfillment for you guys. Celebrate those wins. Okay? Build a little Slack wins channel, drop them in there. It will 100% keep people motivated. Okay? And then, guys, this last one here, address concerns, hit them head on, don't wait. This is one of the biggest things that I see, is that we let these things fester inside of our culture, and we don't address concerns immediately. We brush it under the rug, and then we let it get to a boiling point to where it explodes, and then either that person quits, they get fired, something along those lines. So if you have concerns about how things are going, address them immediately. Do not wait. And I know it kind of seems like, yeah, like duh, but it is hard. Like there's tension involved in addressing concerns, and some people do have a hard time with addressing concerns. So don't wait, don't brush it under the rug, address it immediately, versus just letting it fester, and then eventually you guys get to a boiling point, and then someone ends up leaving the company. Okay, because then you're back to square zero. You're doing that work again, and then you have to go back and do essentially transition one, right? All right, so that's transition two. Let's move to transition three now. Okay. Now, guys, this change it isn't easy. Okay, and challenges will be inevitable. Okay, people are gonna make mistakes. They're gonna make mess ups. You're gonna churn clients because of this. Ooh, I know churning clients sounds horrible. Okay, it is horrible, but uh, it's gonna happen. It's inevitable because here's the thing: is like to get a team trained up and to get them into the place that you want them to be. Like that is going to be part of it. There's going to be a learning curve involved. So just be prepared for that. Okay. Here's some common hurdles that you might face. Might have to overcome some initial resistance here. Okay. So at the end of the day, change is uncomfortable for a lot of team members. So address those concerns openly. Okay. So it kind of goes back to our feedback loop here. Okay. Allow feedback both ways, not just feedback to the team, but feedback coming back to the leadership as well. Second thing is maintaining quality. Okay. Quality at all costs. Okay. Implement quality checks, especially if you guys are running like a content agency or something that where quality checks are really important for like internal quality checks and then also client quality checks. Okay. You want to make sure that there is a system of feedback for clients to ensure that their standards are actually met, but also an internal system for the team before it hits clients that, hey, this is the standard of whatever your agency is. This is the standard of Hydra. This is the standard of your agency. That this is how things are done. Okay. So ensure that there is some sort of feedback loop there in quality checks before you just start shipping things out with the team. Okay. Check their work. That's totally okay. You don't want to do that forever. But at the end of the day, we do want to check our work, especially as we start delegating immediately. Okay. And then stay updated. Don't micromanage. Yeah. So set up some weekly review sessions. Okay. Trust the team, but just verify. Okay. Trust but verify every time. So set up those weekly review sessions. Make sure that the team has what they need. Trust them, but verify that that things are going correctly, that they're actually hitting standards and upholding KPIs. Yes, with that. Rob Perry's just making enemies out here today, dude. Making enemies. Nick Reed. Dang. Rob, you got to meet Nick Lauer next time you're in Nashville. Solid dude. 10 out of 10, dude. All right. Transition 4. Final transition, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A. Okay. So get those questions ready. If you guys have questions, drop them in. Okay. All right. So our last transition here, okay? You're going to start to get fruits from your transition. It's a great thing. We love delegation because it's going to allow you to spend more time in certain areas of the business. So how do we position for growth necessarily? How do we position ourselves to get the most amount of fruit from this transition? Well, a couple different things. Let's start at the top here. Okay. Well, we're going to have more opportunities for network and collaboration. Okay. Especially as an agency owner, you'd be very surprised of when you attend events, when you collaborate with other complementary business services, the amount of revenue that you can generate from these two simple things. It's crazy. Okay. So you're going to have more time for this. So start scheduling yourself events to attend, being able to collaborate with other people inside of your niche. Okay. Other service providers that might be complementary to what you need. A lot of softwares are in this as well. Okay. So do these things. You have the time capacity to actually do them now. So go and act on it. Second thing here is you have a new role. So you need a new perspective. You're going to start to see your big picture more clearly because you have more time to focus on the big picture. So dedicate more time to strategic planning, partnerships, opportunities, and explore new business avenues if needed, right? Now, I'm not saying like completely change your niche, but you might be able to bring another offering to the table that will help you expand. And we talked about expansion of revenue in previous streams, right? If we want to expand revenue, well, there might be some new business avenues that we have to dive into. We might have to go from just being a creative agency to being a creative and paid ads agency because our revenue will be more sticky. We can have a higher lifetime value with our clients and we can keep them around longer. So more time is going to be now dedicated to strategy, which is great. We love that. But if we don't have the room to actually do that, then at the end of the day, we can't do more strategy. Okay. So get a new perspective because your role has now shifted. You have a new role in the business, a little promotion. And lastly, invest into the innovation of the business. With more free time, you're going to have more time to research and integrate new things into the business. Now, we want to make sure that these are production type items, so things that actually generate revenue, that retain revenue or expand revenue within the business. So whatever we're spending our free time on, make sure it's one of those three things. It's going to contribute to growth in some form or fashion. We don't want to work on things that are just going to maintain the business or are not necessary for business growth. Okay. So spend more time on needle moving items. Okay. Refine your offer, drive more eyes to your brand. Okay. Whatever you guys feel is going to help you build and grow on the business. And that's the glory of being able to delegate or automate certain roles and how you transition out of that day to day. Hopefully that's helpful. What'd you say, Reed? I need to meet Nick Lauer soon. You want to do it? You want to do it? All right. We need an agency night soon. Let's do some cigars. I'm down. I'm always down for agency night. Let's do it. All right, team. Hopefully that's making sense. Let's bring it all back together now. Get the chat overlay back on. What questions do you guys have? I know the initial question. What did you ask, Mike? Would love. This is it right here. Would love to hear your approach on content creation. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I think I actually have something on this. Let me try and dig it up real fast. Because I think I have a strategy that I laid out that I can show you. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna dig it up. What other questions do we have though? In the meantime, start dropping some questions in the chat. That way we can knock them out, knock them down. Hmm, I think I deleted it, unfortunately, because I cleaned up our mural board a couple months back, and I think I got rid of it. Unfortunately, let me check one more place. Okay. At some point, I'll probably do a stream solely on this, but let's draw something up together real quick, Mike. That way we can get you what you need. More on content for your personal brand versus business. When you have fulfillment covered, then sales. What's next? Delegate. Okay. Let's hit Nicholas, let's answer your question real quick because that one's relatively simple. It's whatever you don't like doing first. Okay. So whatever you don't enjoy within the business, get rid of that. And then from there, it's skill gap. So whatever you feel like you have to do, but your skill sets aren't necessarily there, that would be second. And then from there, it's kind of looking at, hey, what's what is what am I not getting paid enough to do? Right. And so that's why normally like sales is the last thing that I recommend delegating for really any founder, because there's a lot of power in staying in sales, because one, no one's going to have the conviction like you do. No one's going to understand your service offering better than you do. Right. So that's why normally sales is personally the last thing that I would ever delegate away. Like whoever's coming on board has to be great. And so if I'm getting someone that has to be great, we have to generate enough leads. We have to generate enough deal flow to keep them happy. And Corey and I, Corey Jackson, if you guys don't know him. He's freaking incredible dude. He's actually sitting in my living room right now. But Corey and I chatted on this specifically on you got to be able to produce, if you want a high level salesperson, a minimum of $10,000 per month for them. So they have to take home 10K a month, right? So whatever the math is on your guys' end to be able to do that, whatever your commission structure would be, that's to get a salesperson that could probably sell as good as you on your service. You got to generate at least 10K a month, because Either you're gonna get someone that's not good at selling, or they're not gonna be motivated to sell because they're not making enough money and they're gonna go find another opportunity. So, Nicholas, hopefully that answers your question. All right, let's jam on the content side for a quick second. Okay, Mike. Um, there's a very broad bucket that we go for inside of content. So, recommendation, start with what you're good at. Okay, so if you're great at video, shoot video. If you're great at writing content, write content. Then it breaks into short form, long form, right? Write short form content, write long form content, shoot short form content, shoot long form content. Tyler Lee in the building, or Tyler Armstrong in the building. Tyler Lee Armstrong. um, so yeah, Adam said, know your math backwards from 10K a month. Exactly. Um, so a lot of content specifically out there. Start with one thing though. Okay. Because here's the thing is like people get really juiced on content and they're like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do a live stream, I'm gonna do YouTube, I'm gonna do short form content, I'm gonna write content. Okay. Start with one. The thing that you can do the most consistently. Once you get consistent and you get in a rhythm and you know how long it's going to take you and you've made that as efficient as possible, then move into your second thing. Okay. So in my opinion, one of the easiest places to get started is Twitter. Twitter's so easy just to get content out. You can get a little scheduler like Hype Fury or Tweet Hunter, and you can literally just schedule tweets out for weeks. You could do a writing session for 2 to 3 hours, and you can get a whole week's worth of content. So I would start potentially there and then expand out into other areas. Now, the whole point of content is, of course, to drive sales eventually, right? Like you're utilizing that to get attention for your brand. I always like to say build off of personal brand first, and then eventually you're going to want to transition into the business brand. Okay. Now, the reason that I say that is that people resonate with people more than they're going to resonate with a company. So Gary V is a perfect example of this. People resonate with Gary V. People don't resonate with VaynerMedia, right? Now, Gary's hung on to the personal brand and he's leaning hard into it, which means at a certain point, like the acquisition side of his business, I think it's going to be harder for him to get acquired because his brand, VaynerMedia, which they do post content, but it's not as powerful as Gary V, right? Like Gary V can't just walk away from VaynerMedia and it be a success, in my personal opinion. Okay. Now, he's out of the day to day, but he still drives a lot of the traffic. He still drives a lot of the deals through the door for their agency. And so for me, like if you're wanting to sell your agency one day, you are gonna have to transition out of the content and stop being the face at some point. Otherwise, you're going to be tied to the business and you're probably gonna have a buyout period. Which there's nothing wrong with having a buyout period, but if you're the main source of deal flow for your business, there's just no way you're having a clean exit of like, cool, I built this business, I exited and I'm gone, which is, in my opinion, the ideal scenario you want to be in. But that's probably not going to happen if you are the face of the business and you drive all the deal flow for the business. So eventually you got to transition out. So it's a tough balancing act, but lots to unpack there, Mike. There's a lot of different strategies you could do for content. Pick one thing. Pick one thing, get really great at it, optimize it, and then add a second one. Right. So at this point, like we have, I think 4 or 5 different organic channels. We do Twitter and LinkedIn written. What's nice about that is we double post. So whatever we write for Twitter normally gets posted to LinkedIn as well. YouTube, we do live streams. Live streams get cut down into short form content. And then we also do some tactical videos. We do some vlogs. So like some longer form style content on YouTube. And then we do short form content on Instagram, so Instagram Reels, TikTok, things like that. So eventually it does become more and more and more. And it's a little bit more intense. There's a lot there that has to be kind of put in place. But it's like we have Tyler, who's full time media for us. We're looking at bringing on a second editor right now, so we have the support that we need in order to do that. And when I was doing this solo, I didn't have that, so I was just posting on Twitter. I was just posting on LinkedIn. Right? Because that's all I had time for. That's all I could do. So whatever you can effectively do, that's what you should be doing. Robbie Kiyosaki. What has been your biggest challenge when delegating responsibility within your team? Um, the hardest thing, and I think it will always be the hardest thing about delegating to the team, is that it is really hard to let go. It's hard to let go of responsibility because you want it done right. And as a owner, sometimes your team's going to drop the ball. And as an owner, the worst feeling in the world is losing a client. Is like gut wrenching, right? It sucks to lose a client. It sucks to hear like, hey, this person's going away, right? They're churning out. It's a really tough thing to hear, but you have to be okay with it. You have to realize, hey, the team's going to drop the ball. This is the only way that we're going to be able to grow past this point is if we make some mistakes. And I think that's the hardest thing about delegating responsibility is because you know that if you were on the account, that account would probably still be here, or it would have been a little bit more successful, or you would have hit KPIs, or you would have exceeded KPIs, which is very tough. Like, it's not an easy thing to do, right? It's one of the hardest things to do in business. That's why a lot of businesses don't get past a certain point, and why a lot of either agency owners or business owners in general are strung out is because they are not okay with delegation and they don't know how to delegate appropriately. You do have to let go, but it goes back to the training, right? We have uh, to check in and verify, but we have to trust. We have to trust the team. And it was kind of a two-sided question here, Rob. What have you personally had to overcome, or has it been easy? Um, Personally, yeah. Like I talk to my partner Nicholas on this all the time. Is like my biggest fear is dropping the ball in fulfillment because one, reputation is super important, but also it's like you know there's a lot of effort and time that goes into nurturing these deals and getting people across the line. And it's like when someone does churn out, like it never feels good, right? And so, I mean, personally, that's the hardest thing that I have a hard time with is actually like giving full reins to the team. I would say I'm good at it, but internally, like I'm still like the one thing that causes me anxiety is that, and then compensating the team enough, right? Like those are the two things that, as a business owner, I'm constantly thinking about. One, making sure our clients are winning, but two, making sure that the team is fed, right? And then, has it been easy? No, it has not been easy. It's never easy. I love it. What other questions we got? People are jamming in here today. I love it. Rob, I was fighting with your wife yesterday. She's telling me that sucralose and aspartame were bad for me. I said, "Prove it." She couldn't. I just win. I just win, Rob. What other questions, comments, concerns, epiphanies, takeaways? What do you guys got? Anything else? Or can I go eat? Feeling good, feeling alive. Good stream? Did you guys get some value from this one? Rob. Oh, I heard. That's so funny. I love it. Cool. Uh, if you guys have some final questions here, we'll let them roll in. But you guys, we do this every single Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. So set a little notification on your Google Calendar to come on back. Leave a like on the stream before you leave. Would appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel because it's going to help us reach more people. And let me tell you, there's a lot of bad information out there. I want to make sure you guys get the best information possible to grow your business and be able to be fulfilled in life and actually not be a strung out agency owner or business owner. So, yeah, when I say prove it, I end up on the couch. uh, Let her know that I slept easy last night. I didn't even think about it. I know she was all worked up. I could feel it. Amazing. Nicholas Reed, love you. Mike, love you. Rob, love you. Adam, love you. Tyler's, love you. Appreciate you guys tuning in the stream today. We'll see you next week. Okay. Set a notification. Okay. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.